No documents to print today. This is just an open forum. I know it's 9:02, but we still have a lot of people logging in, so want to give them the chance to get in. Okay, things are calming down a little bit, so we will go ahead and get started. My name is Sarah. I work for Harrisburg Project, and this session, for those of you who have not attended one before, is just a very casual meeting where you guys can talk, ask questions in the chat. You can unmute, just whatever you want to do. We're going to go over just a couple things at the beginning. I always try to share information on, of course, what's coming up for the month and then some hot topics that we have going on. Um, just a lot of things that we've been asked over the past couple of weeks as we're getting into summertime and claim season. And then after that, I'll just open it up and you guys can ask questions or talk or share your suggestions if you have any for iStar or anything like that. So pretty open forum here. So for July, I can't believe it, but we're already to July 7th. Right now, we are in corrections for the Fund D, E, and F regular term claims. So what that means is right now you can still work on your claim records. So if you still have zeros for those, then you can get those entered as long as you do that by July 31st. So the 31st falls on a Friday this month, as you can see from our calendar. So we're spending a lot of time getting those in. So if you have error messages that are saying ed cost equals 0 and we're emailing you about that, that's what I'm talking about with claims. What it means is you have to fill those in. Do you have one? Um, you have to fill those in, whether you're going to do that manually with the calendar method, with the program method. So you have to make sure that those are filled in. So that is the error that you are getting in regards to claims. And again, we did send emails last week just to get a jump start on that to let you know if you do still have errors in this correction period. Also on July 15th, which is next Wednesday, we will have Fund X due. So Fund X is your excess cost. We do not have appropriated funds for excess cost, so we do not anticipate again this year for approximately, I believe, the fifth summer that it will be paid. So if you file that, it will be accepted, but again, we are not expecting to have funds for that. Those are kids that cost 4 times your per cap to educate in a public setting that would not fall under the fund code S as in Sam. And typically they are very expensive Fund A kids. But again, we do not anticipate funding for excess costs this year. So this is the same as it's been for the past several years. The claim is still in statute, so that's why we still talk about it and accept it. Also on July 15th, your indicator 11 and 13 records from the 25-26 school year will be picked up. So you want to make sure that you have looked at those. If you have any indicator 11 days over 60 with an non-compliant reason, you want to make sure that that's not a mistake. On top of that, if you have any indicator 13 entries that are warnings, that means that we're not giving you an error, but they are a warning because the indicator does not meet. Then you want to make sure that you're looking at those as well. If there are mistakes, if you can get those records in compliance. If not, then they'll just come through as warnings. But that could affect your LEA determinations, so just keep that in mind. So the warning, again, it means that you filled out the form in iStar, but something is lacking in their transition plan, causing it to not meet the indicator. After that, we are looking again to the 31st. And on the 31st, not only are your DEF claims due, but also your personnel approval is due. So remember, it's approval only. We don't have a personnel claim. And then all other fund codes are due that day except for B and S. So you will be able to add B and S approvals through August 15th, but all other approvals will close on July 31st. So you won't be able to add any more A, K, L, P, those records after July 31st. So of course, I mean, naturally, we're starting to wind down this 25-26 school year. So as far as your funds B and S go, yes, you do have through August 15th to add those. But what you need to keep in mind is that we also need to have enrollments for those summer records. So make sure that your enrollments do not have regular term end dates on them. We want those end dates to reflect the last day of summer school if they are going to go to ESY. So make sure for B and S, if they have summer term, that you are getting those enrollments. Also, for any summer term orphanage records, so kids that are summer term orphans attending ESY, those are due November 2nd for the claims, but we do need to have enrollments open for those. So you need to be looking at SIS to make sure that your ESY records are going to be reflected in their enrollments. We will be adding a lot of trainings very soon, so you'll want to keep your eyes peeled on the news briefing for that. So right now, my first priority is to get a Start New Year up, because we do anticipate the rollover of being August 3rd. As far as I know, that's the date that ISB will create the new year, and then you will be able to do mass changes on that new year to
I'm on
change
there,
the
Sonia.
dates, etc. Okay. And then just one more thing about SIS. Their deadline is going to be July 31st as well. But that doesn't mean that they can't still make some changes after the fact if they need to. So again, we need to make sure that we're keeping those summer enrollments. In SIS, they end all of their records. We do not do that in iStar. So records that you want to roll to the new year would not need an end date. So our systems are a little bit different in how we end the year. So just keep that in mind. We want those ESY records and those enrollments to remain open. Also, just a note on, we're having a lot of questions about SIS warnings. Remember that if it has a W in front of it, then it is a warning. If it has an F as in fatal, that means it's a fatal error. So the errors will prevent the data from being reported. The warnings do not. So if you are seeing warnings that says SIS enrollments have ended, if you don't need to end your record, then don't. Okay? That doesn't mean you end all of your records in iStar. What it's intended to do is help you out with kids who have graduated and things like that. So that's why the warning is there, and it's why it shows you the date. that they are using in SIS. It does not mean that you end all of your records. So we don't want you to do that in iStar. So remember the difference between the warning and the error. The warning is okay. It's informational. Maybe something you need to change, maybe not. But we're not going to stop picking up the record because you have a warning. The fatal error will stop us from picking up the record. So we will not report records that have fatal errors. We do report records that have warnings. So just remember to look before you panic to see if it's a warning or an error. On your error reports, if you're running those as a whole, you are able to filter on error type. So if you don't even want to see the warnings, you can just select fatal and you will be able to just focus on your fatal errors first and then look at your warnings later. Okay. And then I've got one more thing before I start answering your questions. Um, there's a new method of computing days that was added a couple weeks ago in iStar, and it is for Fund S, as in Sam, summer term only. It's called the hybrid. And when I did my Fund S training with you guys, we talked about summer term for Fund S, and at the time, we were to use manual. And now they have, the manual was not calculating well for payment. So they added a new method that's going to help with the way that these are paid in the long run. So I just want to show you an example of that real quick on our training server. It's actually very similar to the calendar method, and it's not a difficult concept. It's just that it's different from how we trained. So I do want to try when I get caught up to do another Fund S training to have on file. But right now we're going to talk about it. And then as soon as I can get something up there, I will. Let me think of. Of course, I can't think of anywhere right now. Okay. So it's going to be for summer term records, Fund S. Regular term records will still be calendar. I need to find the summer term record. Okay, here we go. So for these, it's going to be on the hybrid method now instead of manual. It will fill in the days for you, but the data entry will remain the same. If you've already done your claim, nothing should be affected. So if you already entered in the summer term claim, it should not change anything. But it's the hybrid method. The days will fill in for you, and then you enter your cost per pupil for summer term, just like before. My training server is not letting me edit, obviously, but that is what it looks like now. So again, it should not affect existing records negatively. You should not have new errors because of this. The transition should have been smooth. It should have just changed it to the hybrid method, filled in the days, kept the amounts if you had already completed those. Now, of course, these are not due until August with corrections through September 30th. So you may not have even started on these yet, and that's fine. We don't expect you to be done with those yet. But again, new method, Fund S, summer term only, hybrid, and it acts just like calendar. So it's going to fill in the days for you. So really, it helps you guys, even though it would kind of, we were surprised, we weren't expecting it. But it helps you because before, what you had to go do was look over here under the details, and you had to gather the summer days and then go back and type them both in manual method. So you're not going to have to do that. Um, wow. Okay. Nothing's cooperating for me this morning on my training server, so let me try it a different way. Hmm, School. Okay. Well, of course, I got one. Oh, here it is. So total summer days. So normally you'd have to come over here and look and grab the summer days and type them in. So with the new method of hybrid, it puts those in for you. So it's helpful. Just a little bit unexpected this time of year. So again, I talked about the summer term manual method in the group webinar that we did, and this is different. I talked about summer being manual, and now summer will not be manual. It will be this hybrid method. Okay, so those are the only things I had to share. Um, Now for questions. The purchase care review board meeting should be today. So if you have a facility that still doesn't have a rate, you should see that this week. I think that the Echo facility is supposed to get their rate today. Um, all right, if I am entering regular term claims for DEF, should I enter an unchecked summer term? No, summer term is a separate claim, so we're not expecting that yet. We won't expect the summer term claim until November. Okay, can you elaborate more on how indicator 13 warnings can affect LEA determinations? So it will basically just lessen your score. It doesn't necessarily that it's going to get you into monitoring, um, but it will, when you're looking at your score in the determinations, you'll get your letter in September. Then you would want to have, um, I think it's a 3 that you want to have on that, and you might see that you have a lesser score if you have students that do not meet their indicator. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that's going one single instance will get you into monitoring. All right, good question. I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. Our exit date for the school year is 6/5/26, and that is what is being used in SIS to exit enrollments for the school year. If a student is in summer school or ESY, does that mean we are not exiting them out 6/5/26 in SIS, but 6/30 last day of ESY? That's correct. Yes, you want to make sure that the enrollment goes through the summer school. Okay. For personnel data, what's the difference between PA and TA? In the meeting, it was mentioned that a TA is licensed. Does that mean that they have a teacher certification or a para license? So the TAs have a para license. The PA is the one-to-one aide that is not licensed but requires, they're certified, they're not licensed, and they have training. So the PA is the one-to-one. The TA is the classroom aide that can help provide instruction under the supervision of the teacher, and they are licensed. So again, exact opposite of what you would think reading those reading those headings. The PA, it says program aide. They're the one-to-one. The TA, it says individual aide in the manual. They are actually the classroom aide that's helping the teacher. Okay. If you are new and you need training, I would first recommend that you visit our website and go through the new user training that's under Student Central down here. And it has the notes. After you do that, if you still have questions and want to do a one-to-one with me, then come to customized training, register now, and fill out that form, and I'll get an email and we can set one up. I will be having new user trainings in August as well, so I will have new ones that I will be doing live also.
No, that's done. Grants, budgets, touch base.
Okay. Um, for students who are returning in the fall, you do not end them in iStar. Do not. You want them to roll over. Okay. When will Fund S schools tuition costs be loaded into iStar? Okay. Fund S, those are not loaded into iStar. If you need to know what the rate is for Fund S, then you click on the details, or for regular term, you click next to the calendar name right here. So this is on the claim. You click on this, look up private facility, and it shows you the rate. You take the days that the student is enrolled times the per diem. Do not round. So this one would be 176 days enrolled times 98.90. And then you would enter that into the cost per pupil. Do not round up. If you round up, you'll get an error. Okay. Almost all the rates have been set. So today is the last Purchase Care Review Board meeting. So again, those are not loaded into iStar. You still have to do those like Fund B. Okay, please explain Fund X versus S. So Fund X are students that Typically are Fund A, and they're very expensive to educate, and you suspect that they are going to exceed 4 times your district's per cap in costs for their special ed tuition. Fund S is can be viewed as a replacement for Fund X and the lack of funding there, except that Fund S is only valid if it is a separate public facility. So it has to be a completely separate program. So if you have a co-op program that's run in one of your grade school classrooms, that does not qualify as Fund S, even though the child may be very intense and qualify as Fund X. So for the most part, Fund S has kind of filled some of that void, but again, it had to be a separate facility to apply or to be a valid Fund S school. So, in other words, we didn't catch everything for Fund X, obviously, but it is better than what it was. For Fund S, should we have one record for regular term with an end date and a separate summer term record with a begin date? Yes. Do not put an end date on that record, though. It will not roll over. So leave the end date open if you want the student to roll into the new year. So no summer end date if you want them to roll over. To my knowledge, when they roll over, they will change back to term of R for the new year. Okay, how do we clear up the error code 23 for the orphanage claim students? What is error code 23? You'll have to tell me the message. I can't remember the numbers. Okay, since we are extending our enrollment records to cover ESY and summer school, do you know how attendance is factored into all of this? To my knowledge, I don't think that SIS requires attendance for summer school. You would have to double check with them though. All right, for Fund S, summer term enrollment approval will not have an end date. It was we want the record to roll over, right? Yes, yes. You do, if you want your summer records to roll over, do not put end dates on them. They will roll over during the start new year and they will change the code, the term code to R for the new year. On the paras, I mean, I wouldn't freak out about it. It's really just supposed to be, what their job role is. But a lot of times people say, well, all of ours are certified, so we put them all in as TAs. So, all right, there is no personnel claim, but the personnel approvals are due July 31st. I have 2 errors on my personnel records state the teachers are not qualified. When I check their IEIN, it shows they are qualified with an endorsement. How do I handle this? Send us those and send us the IEIN numbers in an email and we can check them and see if we can tell if there's something wrong. Typically, you'll want to enter whole numbers. If you're not getting errors by entering cents, that's fine, but I know some of the areas are not accepting it well when I've been helping people. So you don't have to go back and take the cents off, but do not round up. I was given fax forms with start date of 6/3/26. Can I go ahead and enter those in even though the last one I entered was on 2/5/26? I mean, if they actually started on June 3rd, if that was maybe the end of your regular term, you want to put them in. Um, or if that's your summer school, then you'll want to put them in. All right, we were talking about keeping SIS enrollments open. Is this just for Fund BSX students, or should we keep it open for Fund A students who attended ESY? It's more important for the claimable codes. So Fund D, E, and F, BSX, yes. Well, X, you won't have summer school X, BS. So summer term orphans, DE, so DEF summer term, B summer, S summer. Okay, so error code 23 was regular claim days exceed approval days. When you're on that record, on that claim record, click on the update days, and that should clear that up. If you want to do that in mass, um, you can go under student and claims analytics and just hit search there, and you can do the update calendar days. That should fix a lot of those. So come there, hit search. Of course, it'll be your district there. Hit the check. Okay, so along the lines of summer school, for the question about term of both, the important ones are the claimable ones. So again, you really would want to focus on Fund B, S, D, E, F. Just to verify, then our regular school year Fund S will have an end date. You only want an end date on that if they have a summer term that's open, or if they aren't going to summer and they are not returning next school year, then you would want an end date. So just remember, anytime you have an end date on the open record, so if there's no open record at all, if they all have end dates, the child won't roll over. All right, what method do we use for Fund A on a co-op who submits billing on an annual basis? You will not have a claim for Fund A. Method. Fund S claims are due, so you cannot add any Fund S records after August 15th. Approval corrections are through September 15th. Claims corrections through September 30th. That's for B and S both. If you have completed your claim and you get a warning that says, please verify the ed cost is over 75,000, if your claim is correct, then you can just move on. So remember, it's just a warning. So we flagged anything over 75,000 just because we want to make sure it is correct. It's not necessarily that high anymore, but it is on the higher side for a claim. And then if you have transportation over 25,000, you'll see that same thing. If you know that it's correct, then just move on. Again, warnings will not prevent the record from being reported, but errors will. If you're still concerned and you want us to look at the claim, just let us know and we're happy to look at it. Thanks, Bill. All right, I entered a start date of 6/10. Put the term as S. Yeah, I mean, you have to have summer SIS enrollments if you're going to put them into iStar. All right. Do my ESY students need to be changed to Fund S as well, or just the students attending summer school? My current ESY I have listed under both instead of regular or summer. Okay, I feel like maybe I've confused you. So Fund S records are kids that attend a separate public day facility. So they have to have gone through the approval process and qualified as that. So a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of those are co-op schools that qualified. So they have separate brick and mortar, or schools like Minor School, Kirk School. So they are separate special ed schools. And the list of those is on our website and it's under miscellaneous. So it's these approved Fund S programs. If you have Fund A kids that are listed as both, that's fine. If you have Fund S kids, it will not allow you to choose a term of both. You will have a regular term record that is done calendar method and a summer term record that is done with the hybrid method. The July to do will come out in our news briefing. Our office was closed yesterday, so we haven't sent our news briefing yet. Yes, the regular and summer term rates are the same for Fund S. Okay, guys. I don't see any more questions, but I'm going to wait for a few minutes. We don't complete a summer claim for the Fund A students that are in summer school or ESY, correct? That is correct. There is no claim for Fund A for regular or summer term. Summer term claims on D, E, F, B, and S. I'll just hang on for a few more minutes to see if anybody else has any questions. The instructions on the Fund B claims, we have the claim instructions are, let me make this a little bit larger. The claim instructions are under manuals and guides on our webpage. And then the recording and the notes are under hot topics. So it's this Fund B claims and then the notes. Fund S and B are very similar in how they're calculated, but the methods are different.
This is old.
Okay. We did record today, so we will be posting this if anybody got in late. Um, Entering Fund U with eligible pending placement, those roll over even though there is an end date, correct? Yes. Okay, so the 1.0 ADE ed cost is 0. That's what we're talking about claims. That is the claim. So if it's, we don't have, I don't know why that J is there. We need to get that out of there. So I'll note that. Um, that's confusing. So no fun J. I don't want that to confuse anybody. So you're going to have to calculate the cost if it's not, as if you're not getting an invoice for that child. Okay. Is it a fund E or a fund X, Carissa? Okay. We have two eighth graders attending ESY at the high school. Do we need to create new records for them on iStar or just SIS with the high school listed as serving? You are the pre-K through 8 district. Okay. Then you would just have a summer record with the high school as the serving.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
All right. Okay, yeah, if you have Fund E errors, that means that you're going to have to calculate those, so we'll get that going. Yeah, if they're in-district kids, we'll look at them and see, but you may have to do the program method for some of them. We'll see what they have. Okay, I'll wait a few minutes just to see if we have any other questions. Definitely want to get those Fund E's. I can tell you where the per cap is, but that's not the cost per pupil. So the per cap is for educating a regular ed student in your district. That doesn't mean it's what you should claim. So under resources on our website is the 25-26 special ed tuition cost sheet data. It's in a PDF format now. It used to be in Excel, so that may confuse some of you because it was always in Excel, but this year it's in PDF. So you can just hit Control F here and search for your district. Okay. Now, remember, that's your regular ed tuition charge. That doesn't mean that's what you're going to use for your claim. We may recommend that on some kids, but that's not what you would do by nature automatically. We have an indicator 13 error for a student that was 13 at the time they exited special education. That's odd. You would need to send us an email about that. You shouldn't have that. You shouldn't have a warning or an error for that child. So send us an email with the SIS ID, please. Okay. Okay, if a student exits the district but still shows an indicator 13 error, the district is responsible for entering the data. If they were 14 and a half at the time they were receiving services, then yes, whether they left or not. Okay, somebody's unmuted and I can't figure. Usually I can figure it out. Oh, maybe I got it. I don't know who it is. So if you could make sure you're muted. Got a little bit of background noise coming through. Okay, I got it. Okay. If you have time over the summer, and you do have students that will be changing schools in the new year, and you already know that, you can end them on the last day of attendance in this past school year and enter them with a new record in the new year. So you can do an end add. Again, you would give their end date the last day of attendance in the 25-26 school year. And then on the new record, you would leave it open-ended. So it would be the first day of school in your new year, so say August 15th, with no end date on the new record. And then during the rollover, we would leave the old record in the current year and we would pull that new record into the new year. So if you have time to work ahead, then yes, you can do that. The alternative to that is that you just change it in the new year, and that's fine as well. Okay. Yeah, you'll get an error in the new year. You'll get an error on the new year record. You should. We're not going to look at that record in the current year. So it'll just say it's in the new year and it's bypassed edit checks. So you should expect an error on the future dated record because we're not to that date yet. Yep. Just to confirm, in iStar, if they are returning students, do they need to have an end date? No. If you want them to roll over, they do not need an end date. We know that you're going to have kids in the new year that, yes, you just ignore the sis warning. It's just telling you that the date sis ended them if you did need to. Um, in the new year, we know you're going to have some kids that don't show back up, right? And that's okay too. It doesn't mean that you have to absolutely make sure you got everyone ended that's not coming back. You're going to know there are going to be obvious ones, your graduates, things like that. But you're always going to have somebody that moves over the summer and doesn't return, something like that. So in the new year, we just delete them if you don't need them anymore. Okay. And you know what? If you accidentally end a student and then they show back up, we'll just add them back in the new year. It's not the end of the world. Okay, it's looking quiet, so I will let you guys go. If you need us, remember just to send us an email or give us a call, and we will get back to you. So thank you guys for attending. Oh, Sasha, transportation's on the claim record. So it'll be the transportation field on the claim record if you need to put that in. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a good week.